Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to the first info session of the Belgian National Coordination Center. My name is Caroline Breuren. I'm the Expertise Program Manager at the CCB, or Center for Cybersecurity Belgium Long. I will be your host for the next 1.5 hours. In this session, first Miguel de Bruiker, Managing Director of the CCB, will give you an introduction, followed by Katarzyna Prusa-Goniak, the Deputy Chair of the European Competence Center Governing Board, who will tell you a bit more about the new European framework. After Katarzyna, I will share more details on what this means on a national level. And last but not least, my colleague Christian Jordan, project manager of the National Coordination Center team, or maybe it's exactly the thing that you were waiting for. He will share more information about the funding opportunities coming from the European Union. But before we start, just a few general matters. If you look at the very left, right, in the down in the corner, you see two tabs: questions and chat. In the chat, you can interact with all participants. You can go wild. But if you have any questions, you go to the questions tab. There the questions will be answered either right in the tab or by the speakers after the presentation. Since this question will always pop up, yes, the slides will be available. You can download those during the presentation. And the same counts for the recording. The link will be available afterwards. But for now, I would like to invite the first speaker on stage, Miguel de Bruiker. If he can connect.
Here I am.
There you are.
Good morning, Caroline. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. So if you're ready, I will give you the stage.
Thank you very much. Allow me to share my screen. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
perfectly. Okay.
Good morning.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Miguel de Bruiker. I'm the Managing Director for the Center of Cybersecurity Belgium. And I believe that we are at the beginning of a wonderful story where the digital transformation will actually perform as an enabler for more prosperity in our society. But in order to be able to give that digital transformation a success, we must trust that digital transformation. We must trust that digital environment. Trust is the basis of every good collaboration, of every success story, I think. And trust is also built on security. And this is a little bit my story. You cannot build an environment where people don't trust each other, and you cannot build that trust if you don't have a specific layer of security. You don't need too much security. You don't need too little security. You need a balanced way of implementing security in your environment. And as a CCB, Center for Cybersecurity Belgium, allow me to talk just a few minutes about who we are. Our mission is to make Belgium one of the least vulnerable countries within Europe, within the European Union. So we don't want to be the best secured. We don't want to be the country with the most capabilities. We are working on our vulnerability on national level and making sure that we can reduce those vulnerabilities. To achieve that, we have developed a concept of what we call active cybersecurity. This is not the same as shooting back. Active cybersecurity is about warning entities, warning people, warning companies that they have a specific vulnerability. So, for instance, we have a strategy around spear warning, where we try to identify the most important and exploited vulnerabilities at a certain point of time, the most important threats to our country, and we try to identify those vulnerable or those threatened systems. We have a legal framework for that. We built that into our first NIS law, and now we also have adopted the Belgian law so that we can identify in a much more easy way the owners of those vulnerable systems. And the goal is to, as fast as possible, and preferably faster than hackers can exploit a specific vulnerability, to warn the owners of the system so that they can respond and close that vulnerability. We also believe that in that concept of active cybersecurity, that we need an additional layer of security based on validation, a sort of additional layer of services and information exchange, where you can choose to share information, to distribute information, to send information in a validated or in an anonymous way. So yes, it should always be possible to go to the internet in an anonymous way. On the other hand, if I receive information or I go to a website, it would be interesting to see, is there a known identity behind the sender of that information, behind the publisher of that website, etc. We have already achieved some successes, I think, in the sense that we are sending out thousands of spear warnings a day. We also have created an email address that is suspicious@saveonweb.be in 4 languages, and we received for Q2 of this year, we received over 15,000 of emails per day on average of the Belgian population, allowing us to send out in an automated way more than 12,000 of warnings per day to the population. So this is our concept: active cybersecurity. Actively involve the government in securing that environment. And to do that, we need new technologies. We need to be able to develop within our country and within the EU new technologies that support the new way or new ways of securing that digital information and making sure that this digital transformation really builds more prosperity in our society. Who are we? Well, the Center of Cybersecurity Belgium has been created 7 years ago as the National Authority for Cybersecurity under the authority of the Prime Minister. And that's why we have also integrated the National Coordination Center, the Belgian National Coordination Center, within the Center of Cybersecurity Belgium. And the goal, of course, is to build a community of people that have ideas, that take initiative, and to make sure that they get the proper information, to share that information in both directions, from the EU towards the let's say, the initiative-taking entities, but also gathering ideas or propositions, and why not linking it back to an EU level, and also to guide those entities that take initiatives or would like to take initiatives, to guide them through the process of finding the support on a European level. The Center for Cybersecurity Belgium, in a few words, is the national authority for cybersecurity, and our main mission is to implement a policy and a strategy, or different policies, and a national strategy for cybersecurity in coordinating all the different initiatives in our country. We are also responsible for cyber threat research and information or intelligence sharing. So we collect all the cyber threat information and we try to distribute it in the most effective and fast way as possible. We also incorporate the national CERT BE, Computer Emergency Response Team, more or less, or CCERT. By law, we have also now incorporated the National Cybersecurity Certification Authority under the Cybersecurity Act. And of course, for this gathering, very important, we are also incorporating, or we have incorporated also by law, the National Coordination Center within the Center for Cybersecurity Belgium. So the idea is to have one pilot, to have one driver in your car that is coordinating with all the other parties, that is working together with everyone as a central focal point, as a central authority, but in a way that everything is coordinated and everyone has the possibility to speak out and being heard. The goal of this meeting, I think, is to learn what the European Cybersecurity Competence Center is all about. And thank you very much, Ms. Prusak-Gorniak, to introduce this European new competence center to this meeting. We would also like to introduce, of course, our Belgian National Coordination Center. We would like to inform you about what currently are the opportunities for European funding in the domain of cybersecurity, new technology building. And of course, we would like to introduce you and explain you how you or your organization can join the community that we are building around new cybersecurity technologies and the support from the European level. And this ends my presentation. So if there are any questions already, I'm here to answer them, of course.
There are two questions in the tab. Maybe you can answer those two if you want.
Well, to be honest, here, I was on the chat. I don't see any questions, to be honest, in the questions tab. So, Caroline,
Okay.
are they in the chat maybe? They were in the chat. The chat is a little bit jumpy.
Sorry, in the questions tab. So the first question is, how, in your view, will the zero trust principles be implemented in this context of gaining trust?
Very interesting question. Thank you very much for that. Well, we are, I think, we're going from a little bit one extreme almost, where we had what I call synthetic trust. We were trusting, we are currently having a lot of trust in an environment where actually there is very little of security built in. For instance, I receive a phone call, I receive a message, I receive an email, I visit a website. I see that website, I think it's my bank, it isn't my bank. I receive a phone call, I see the number of my bank or a government agency or someone, and I'm absolutely not sure that it is that person. Email can be spoofed, phone numbers can be spoofed, websites can be spoofed in a rather easy way. So we have synthetic trust. And I think zero trust is a great concept, but is rather difficult to implement. It's not an easy one. If you can do it, it's probably bringing you a great level of security, but it is not an easy one to implement zero trust. So we think that a first step towards better security might be identity-based trust, where you build different layers and where you as a user can see I'm using a service or I'm receiving information from someone who has been digitally identified. So zero trust is a great concept, is something that we will certainly partially implement wherever possible, but it's not an easy one, I think. And there was another question, I think, Caroline?
Yes, and there are more questions rolling in. We still have 5 minutes, so...
I don't see the questions in my questions tab. Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
So a question.
You have to read them out to me.
Yeah, I will. No problem. Question: Are you also warning companies of their vulnerabilities that are not in the scope of NIS or NIS2?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we are identifying, first of all, the most important vulnerabilities. We're trying to do a daily follow-up on what vulnerabilities are critical, but also are being exploited in the wild. And we are warning whatever entity owner of a vulnerable system that we can identify. So the first challenge, of course, is to, within the legal framework, to identify the vulnerable systems. And then, of course, to identify the owner. But yes, we are even sending out sometimes hundreds of letters on paper to the owners of vulnerable systems, talking on, let's say, on business level, impact level, business impact, with the technical details in an annex to the letter. So the answer is yes.
Great. Then we have another question saying, I have a question. Are IOC also shared with firewall vendors so they can update their security databases?
We have a very strict policy on vulnerability disclosure. That means that whenever a vulnerability, and the Center for Cybersecurity Belgium is also the place where people can inform government or can notify about a vulnerability without having the risk of being legally prosecuted because they have discovered a vulnerability, and then of course is the question, how did you discover that? So yes, whenever we get informed about a vulnerability or indicators of compromise for firewall equipment or whatever equipment or software, we will play the role of gateway and send that information to the owner of that product.
Okay, thank you. Then a question, you mentioned promoting anonymity on the web. What do you mean by it?
It's not about promoting anonymity. The internet is an open and free cyberspace, and that is very important to safeguard that openness, in the sense that for a lot of people in the world, this allows them to exchange information in an open and free way. But there are limits, of course, to freedom. And what we think is that since we are all using the same services, we are all using the same products. Let's be honest, we're all using SMSs, we are all using email, we are all using WhatsApp, we are all using Messenger or whatever information exchange system. But when I receive a message on WhatsApp, or I receive an email or an SMS, these can be spoofed. I am not really sure that when I receive an email from my bank, that it is my bank. When I click on a link and I see my bank, well, it becomes more and more challenging to see that is this really my bank? And this is where we are trying to build and think about new solutions where you do not oblige to use these services in an identified way, but we offer the possibility to do so. And this means that he who receives the information, or he who visits, for instance, a website, can see the difference between an anonymous and a validated service. And this is a little bit the direction where we are thinking in additional layers without breaking the concept of anonymous information exchange. But at least as a user of that service, as a recipient of that information, I think you should be able to see the difference between something that has been validated, where the sender or publisher has been validated, or something that has been published or sent in a more anonymous way. And now we're going a little bit over time, I think, Caroline. We don't hear you. Your microphone is off.
I'm sorry. Yes, we were still in time 10:20, but it's now 21. So I would like to thank you so much for your time. And there are still some questions there. If you see them after the presentation, feel free to jump in. But for now, I would like to invite Katarzyna Prusa-Goniak to the stage. Thank you, Miguel.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Katarzyna.
Good morning, Caroline. Great to see you.
Good morning. It says that I'm muted, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yes,
Great.
definitely.
Okay.
So you're ready? Then I will give you the floor.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. My name is Katarzyna Prusa-Goniak, and I have a pleasure to represent Poland in the governing board and also be the deputy vice chair of the European Competence Center governing board. And first of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation for this event and also making it happen. And it is very important that we spread the news about the Competence Center and the possibilities that there are in the framework of the Competence Center. So starting from the beginning, the European Competence Center, the full name is the European Cybersecurity, Industrial Technology and Research Competence Center, was established by the regulation 2021/887 that you all can access through the EUREX website. And this regulation was adopted in May last year and entered into force end of June last year. And since then, the work has been ongoing to establish, fully establish the to adopt or to take all the necessary steps to establish the European Competence Center and also the network. Because the regulation not only establishes the Competence Center as a legal entity with a separate legal personality, but also establishes the network of national coordination centers that are appointed by every member state, and all the 27 create the network of national coordination centers. So, as I said, the center is a new legal entity within the realm of the entities dealing with the cybersecurity at the European level. It has its own legal personality and also plays a dual role. First of all, implementing the tasks as foreseen in the regulation, but also implementing the cybersecurity parts of the funds, mainly the Digital Europe program and Horizon Europe, and also it could also implement all other relevant cybersecurity parts of programs that foresee funding for cybersecurity. So, as I said, since June 2021, the work has been ongoing. Because it's a new entity, a lot of formal steps had to be taken to make sure that all the necessary procedures are in place. So the interim director was appointed, and also the governing board has been created. All the member states are represented in this governing board, and also the Commission. And during last months, there has been work ongoing to make sure that the governing board adopts all the necessary documents and procedures and plans for the center to become fully operational. And well, why the center from the beginning was to be established? Because the member states and the Commission sees the need to further increase the security of the network information systems. And we see that there's a lot of expertise, knowledge within the European Union, wealth of expertise, but they are fragmented, lacking alignment, and there's not a common mission. And the center is to pull a network and use this expertise that we have in the European Union to make sure that we use it in the best way. There was also an insufficient level of strategic coordination and cooperation, and where the center could step in and make sure that we provide this cooperation and cooperation. Also, the center is to focus especially on the SMEs, as the SMEs are crucial stakeholders when it comes to cybersecurity. First of all, the center should make sure that the SMEs get rightful knowledge to cybersecurity competences, and also also receive tailoring access. First of all, to make sure that they are themselves secure, but from the other side, those SMEs who are active in the cybersecurity to be competitive and contribute to the union's leadership in the area of cybersecurity. And the main idea is to create synergies and coordinate financial support when it comes to cybersecurity. Also, the Competence Center, as the legal entity, is to coordinate the works of the network, and should also facilitate the transfer of the expertise and knowledge within all the members of the community and the network and the national centers. And what is the mission of the center? Because the regulation states about the mission and objectives and tasks of the center. So when it comes to the mission of the center, these are the three exact mission foreseen. First of all, strengthen union's leadership and strategic autonomy in the area of cybersecurity. Second, support union technological capabilities, and skills in relation to resilience and reliability of the infrastructure of network information systems. And third, increase the global competitiveness of the union cybersecurity industry, ensure high cybersecurity standards throughout the union, and turn cybersecurity into a competitive advantage for other union industries. To go further, the objectives of the center as foreseen in the regulations. First, there's an overall objective to promote research, innovation, and deployment in the area of cybersecurity. And this overall objective is followed by three specific objectives. These are enhancing cybersecurity capabilities, knowledge, and skills, promote cybersecurity resilience and the uptake of cybersecurity best practices, the principle of security by design, and the certification of the security of digital products and services. Further on, the center is to contribute to a strong European cybersecurity ecosystem, which brings together all relevant stakeholders. And going further to the task, the center has two categories of tasks, first of them being strategic tasks and the others implementing tasks. The strategic tasks, first of them being to adopt and present the agenda. The agenda is the most important document when it comes to strategic planning. This is a strategy to set strategic recommendation for the development of the European cybersecurity industrial, technological, and research capabilities, but it also is to set strategic priorities for the works of the Competence Center. And currently, after all the organizational part, we were able to, within the governing board, we were able to move to work on this document, on the agenda. And currently, it's being drafted as we have the meeting of the governing board in October. The first draft of this agenda to be discussed within the governing board is to be prepared for the October meeting. And this would be the most important document when it comes to functioning of the center and seeing what are the strategic objectives, strategic recommendations, and priorities when it comes to the working of the center. And through this agenda, the further tasks will be presented and will be described in more detailed manner. That would be the task enhancement of cybersecurity research and innovation, the development of cybersecurity industrial, technological, and research capacities, capabilities, and infrastructure, reinforcement of cybersecurity skills and competence in industry, research, and technology, the deployment of cybersecurity products and products, services, and processes, support for the update of the cybersecurity products and processes. Also within the strategic tasks, the center is to make sure there are synergies between the works of different communities and different bodies dealing with the cybersecurity at the European level, and also to make sure there's a proper coordination between the National Coordination Center and their work being aligned, the exchange of information being sufficiently ensured. When it comes to implementing tasks, the center is the main body to implement the cybersecurity part of the Digital Europe program. That being said, it means that the calls for the cybersecurity part of the DEP will be organized and will be published by the center itself. Further on, for now, the center is also to implement the joint actions between member states, to which could be financed from the Horizon Europe cybersecurity part. The center in future could also implement the cybersecurity parts of the Horizon Europe, but also any other cybersecurity funding that could be foreseen in any legal instrument, if that is foreseen in such an instrument. And when it comes also to implementing tasks, the center should strive to enhance synergies and coordination between the civilian and defense sphere, should also raise awareness about the competence itself and the working of the network of the national coordination centers, and can carry out the deployment of ICT infrastructure and facilitate the acquisition of such an infrastructure. And the center itself, as a body, has a structure foreseen in the regulation, that being the governing board that I mentioned, also the executive director. For now, we have the interim executive director that fulfills all the duties of the director, and therefore the center is operational under the governing of the interim director. And we also have a strategic advisory group that would consist of no more than 20 members that would be appointed by the governing board from the representative of the community. Because also the regulation on the Cybersecurity Competence Center foresees that the cybersecurity competence community, the representatives of industry, research, technology stakeholders, that could join this community through the procedure and applying through the national coordination centers. But I guess Caroline will say a little bit more about this procedure. From the perspective of the governing board, what we did as one of the first steps was to adopt the guidelines. How should the process of applying to the cybersecurity competence community look like, to give recommendations to make sure that these procedures are in line in all the member states and all the NCCs that are that will open the schools to become the members of the cybersecurity community. So to sum up, there's still a lot to do when it comes to the competence center. Together with all the other member states and the members of the governing board, we are very eager to make sure that the competence center is a success, and we are really hard working together also with colleagues from the Belgian NCC, that I thank again for enabling this event, to make sure that everything that is needed for the center to be fully operational and success is in place. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Katarzyna. When looking at the time, I would like to stick to one question, if that's okay with you, and we try to answer the other questions afterwards in the tab. the question I would like to ask is from Yoshi Parlevliet. What is the differentiator of the new center in relation to ENISA? What can organizations expect as concrete outputs of the new center? But I think yeah, please go ahead.
Well, it was very important from the very beginning when the regulation was already still in the council negotiated, that there's no duplication of efforts when it comes to the tasks of ENISA and the center. So the task of the center and ENISA are different. And as I presented, the tasks of the center are mainly to implement the funding from the DEP. These are the implementing tasks. And the strategic tasks are focusing on supporting the industry, research, and technology stakeholders. So, and there's a very close cooperation when it comes within the center now and ENISA. ENISA supports the establishing of the center in different ways, also giving us expertise and knowledge from their best practices, how to make sure that all the documents that we prepare are the best ones that could be.
Thank you. I would like now to thank you for your presentation, especially considering the fact that you're actually still on holiday. So much appreciated for the efforts and making time for this. And see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So now I will share my screen. Okay. So after Miguel's and Katarzyna's presentation, I would like to dive a little bit deeper with you into the national part of the ECCC framework. So Katarzyna already mentioned a bit what is also on national level, but just to recap, we have the Belgian National Coordination Center, which is one of the 27 national coordination centers in the Union, which is also part of the network of NCCs. I think the illustration I took the liberty to use an image from ENISA, but I think this illustration explains it quite well. So in the center, you see the European Competence Center. You have the network around, and then around the network and the competence center, you have the cybersecurity competence community. And in Belgium, that would be then the Belgian community. We also, of course, deliver a Belgian member and alternate for the European Governing Board, but there is more. That's definitely not all. I will dive into that later. But first, just the three biggest tasks for the national coordination centers. So on one hand, the Digital Europe program and Horizon Europe program fundings, those are coming from the Union, but they have to be coordinated. This is a task of the National Coordination Center, but also support the strategic tasks that Katarzyna just explained about. We, as a coordination center, have to support there. And the center is also a national focal point, a hub for the European framework. And yeah, just for the just as a background information, why was the CCB selected as the National Coordination Center for Belgium? Well, it's because of the legal missions of the CCB. Those are in line with the requirements for NCCs mentioned in the European regulations. Regulation, like, for example, the implementation of cybersecurity strategy and policy, ensuring coordination between the different parties on a national level, represent Belgium in international forums, etc. So on the 16th of February, the CCB has been appointed legally to be the National Coordination Center. And well, now how does that exactly work on a national level? Of course, the National Coordination Center will not make decisions regarding cybersecurity investments by itself. Here you can see a graphic that's a bit more detailed how Belgium is implementing the European regulation on a national level when it comes to governance. So on one hand, it's our goal to set up an organization in Belgium that is as efficient as possible, which provides optimal coordination between all existing and future initiatives, and also with respect to everyone's competences, because in Belgium, competences related to the sub aspects of the cybersecurity theme, like investments, research, security, those are divided between federal and federated levels. So there needs to be a good balance and a lot of coordination. On the other hand, we need input from the fields, like the industry, the academic sector, sectorial governments, and therefore we have created or will be creating, because one platform is created, the other one still is to be established, two consulting platforms on a national level, which will support the tasks of the Belgian National Coordination Center. So if you look at the very center, you see a red circle. This is the strategic board. In the strategic board, there sits administrations from federal and federated entities and national security services. And the strategic board is coordinated by the National Coordination Center, mostly to reach consensus on Belgian positions that have to be taken to the European Governing Board, but also the coordination on a strategic approach to cybersecurity investments in Belgium, to make sure that things are aligned, that we are looking for synergies and avoiding overlap. And then on the very left, you see two circles in green. The dark circle is the second consulting platform, which is the Belgian Strategic Advisory Group. This is a selective group of relevant stakeholders representing the industry, research institutions, academia, and they provide advice and input to the strategic board and the National Coordination Center. And also the other way around. So as soon as the strategic board and the National Coordination Center give information to the Belgian Strategic Advisory Group, they can share it with their stakeholders and make sure that they are aware of all relevant matters. Then I can imagine that you think, what's in the big circle then? Well, this is broadly the cybersecurity competence community. This is a diverse group of actors involved in cybersecurity technology, like research entities, but also the supply and demand side of the industry and the public sector that will, in the end, altogether benefit of the European funding. So if this on a national level, after consultation and reaching consensus in the strategic board, this will be taken for when it comes to digital European program, it will be taken to the governing board. You can see that in the yellow block at the bottom. For Horizon Euro program, it's slightly different because only the joint actions part of the Horizon Euro program are managed by the ECCC. So there will only be provided inputs regarding or advice towards the CIS working groups who are responsible for this. So there are other delegates, but they take the input given by the community, the positions taken in the strategic board, they take this on board when making their decisions. Then just a little bit more in detail, the strategic advisory group on a Belgian level. This will be a group of 20 to 25 relevant stakeholders. The idea would be that the National Coordination Center will initiate this group and also coordinate the establishment. But after that, it can then further specify its own internal functioning. It's independent. And the idea would be that they would give proactive advice, but also input on request. Also make proposals for a strategic cybersecurity policy on an international, national, or regional level. Plus pass on the information from the NCC and the strategic board to their own supporters and stakeholders. So everyone is aware of upcoming funding or also can deliver input when the strategic agenda is being made or the next working programs to understand what is what is relevant. And then specifically, for example, if you see certain opportunities or there are bottlenecks, problems, challenges, there is a need for something, this can be expressed through the strategic advisory group, so that the strategic board is actually aware of what's going on in the field, what is needed, what funding should be made available for what. So just to do a recap, what would be the benefits? So an important part is a more structured approach for cybersecurity investments. This can be done because of this one national focal point. There will be more opportunity to look for synergies and therefore less overlap, plus more alignment between the research and innovation that's being done towards the implementation of those new technologies, that research and innovation is also aligned with the needs, with the market, instead of new innovations that the market is not in need of. Like I said earlier, there is a great opportunity this time to influence the European strategic agenda and also where the funding will be going to. So it's an opportunity that's important to use. Also, it will be a way to be aware of upcoming European funding opportunities. So we will be the ones who, in close cooperation with the NCPs, but my colleague Christian will talk about that a little bit later. But it's our task as well to make sure that the Belgian cybersecurity community is aware of the funding opportunities coming up, and also to help them and support them with applying to those different calls. This framework is also an opportunity to build and strengthen cross-border, cross-sectoral relationships and collaboration. It will be much easier to find the right partners for your project. Also, and last but not least, we really do hope to support to increase the success rate of Belgian proposals. It's often a very difficult task to create the proposals. It demands quite some efforts and knowledge, and our aim is to support you there, to give you guidance in the writing of the proposals. Christian will talk about that a little bit later, but hopefully this will help increase the success rate. And next steps, we are not up and running. We are still in the process of building this National Coordination Center. So this means that we are still further building capacity, recruiting people for the team, establishing a portal, for example, for the community to communicate and to interact for in relation to the new framework and the funding programs. Like Katarzyna said, we are also now in the process of developing a strategic agenda. So we will be working on that too. We already reached out to key stakeholders to hear about their thoughts. If you have at this moment thoughts or ideas that you want to share, please share. We are happy to take it on board. Then the third thing is the community building. We will start with that soon. Katarzyna already talked about the community guidelines. We will get into that later. That will not be discussed yet here. But as soon as we are ready to start this, we will definitely reach out to you. And then the setup of the Belgian Strategic Advisory Group. If you are interested to be part of this, also you're very much welcome to make this to make this clear to us. And you can reach out to our email address, and which I didn't include here, but I know that my colleague did. Just I will say it right now. It's the ncc@ccb.belgium.be. But at the very end, Christian will also share it. And that's it for now. I haven't been looking at the questions in the meantime, so I have to I see here a question if you can subscribe to a communication channel with NCC BE. You can write your request to subscribe to the email address, and then definitely you will be answered, and you will be given the information as soon as it's there. Just looking at there. I have here, how many FTE do you plan for the NCC when operations will be reached their normal rate? The aim is 5 team members in total. So this year we will hire 3. And next year, 2 more team members will join the NCC team. And looking at the time, I will continue answering questions in the questions tab. But I think it's now time to move over to my colleague, Christian. Christian, are you there?
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Caroline. Let's
All right.
dive right now into the, let's say, the cybersecurity funding opportunities, and we'll try to provide you with some of the hints related to the actual application to those funding. Let me share my screen with you. Okay.
Christian?
Yes.
Your sound is quite low. It's a low volume. I don't know if there is any way to increase that.
Is it better now?
I think this is quite, well, it's louder than before. So.
Okay, let's go for this then.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks. So this is just a brief overview of what we're going to look at. So I will say from the very beginning that this will be a bird's eye view presentation on what are some of the best known EU cybersecurity funding opportunities, and of course, how to apply for those. So we're talking about the financial framework, and I mean here the by the new European multi-annual financial framework, which came into force in January 2021 for 2021 up to 2027. There were two major investment programs that were launched. And I mean here Horizon Europe, of course, and Digital Europe. So these two programs, you may have already heard about them. Caroline touched a bit on this, but we'll look a bit deeper on what mainly Digital Europe, the Digital Europe program has to offer to you. Given the scale of cybersecurity challenges and investments in cybersecurity capabilities, cybersecurity, of course, will be an important part of both programs, is an important part of both programs. And you will see some of the, let's say, very detailed calls in this just a little bit later. So Horizon Europe, for now, I can tell you that it has the cybersecurity aspects included in clusters 3, which talks about civil security for society, and also in cluster 4, digital industry and space. Well, there's a very broad range of eligible entities. So for now, there are cybersecurity calls open, but we will look at mostly the Digital Europe program. What you must know that both of these programs are available for details in the EU funding and tenders portal. When you will download this presentation, you will be able to see the link. I have added it right here, if you can see where my cursor is. And you can see a bit further down the road in the presentation also some more details related to this portal. As for Digital Europe program, where the biggest chunk of this presentation is looking at, I can tell you that there are 1.6 billion euros for cybersecurity. It is equally important to stress the fact that the NCC Belgium will support you in your process of application only concerning the cybersecurity aspects. And I mean here only this red rectangle, even though, of course, the other topics are, of course, related to cybersecurity, they will not be covered by the activity of any NCC if I get this correctly, but for now I can tell you about us that we will only be looking at the cybersecurity aspects. It is very important for you to know, I think, that there will be new calls available at the end of September, and this will last until the end of January 2023. You have them. You have here in the presentation the timeline. So what we are interested in, what I've prepared in this presentation is taken from the Digital Europe Cybersecurity Work Program. And here you will find 6 cybersecurity funding opportunities related to cybersecurity and trust. You have here a very short overview of the budget of every one of these calls, and we will go through all of them very briefly in the following slides. So you should know that the document is explaining at every one of these calls, you will have the details related to the total funding, which you can see here where my cursor is, which means 15 million for the use cyber resilience and coordination and cyber ranges. But this total will be split in amounts that range from 2 to 4 million euros. And there is also another aspect you should be looking at, the co-funding tab, the column, which means that in your case, you should adapt your proposal to 50 or 75%. It's also very important to see, and I will give you these details further down a bit, related to the type of funding. Okay, so I will go through this and I will explain the differences between the SME support grant or the simple grant, for instance. You have here a few details related to the objectives of the cyber resilience and coordination and cyber ranges activity. So it's aimed at strengthening the capacity of cybersecurity actors in the Union to monitor cyber attacks and threats and supply chain risks. I will not be reading all of these details to you, so feel free to download the presentation and have a look over it. As I was saying earlier, please keep in mind the fact that you will have links to the documents that we have mentioned in all of our presentations, both Caroline and I. There is a second activity that I want to mention for you here. It's still under the realm of the European Cyber Shield, and this is looking at the SOCs, a capacity building of security operation centers. There is a bigger amount of funding at this point. It's a total of 80 million euros. This means that the total will be split in shares of 7 to 10 millions of euros. But here, the participants that will have to co-fund an amount of 50%. This will be a simple grant. As I was saying, I will give you the details just a bit in a couple of minutes. Here you have as an objective to create, support, and strengthen and interconnect SOCs at the regional, national, and EU level. As for 5G, the third activity I wanted you to know is still under the realm of the European Cyber Shield. It's called Securing 5G Strategic Digital Infrastructures and Technologies. You have a total of 10 million euros split into shares of 1 up to 3 million euros per grant. Again, keep in mind that this will be with a 50% co-funding rate. As opposed to the previous activities, this will be a simple grant. It's aimed at supporting relevant entities in member states, again, I will stress this, so it's not relevant for the EEA states, for instance, or associated partners. So it only has to do with member states in the implementation of their national cybersecurity strategies and legislation in line with European 5G cybersecurity policy. Still under the realm, that's the final one related to the European Cyber Shield, you have the uptake of innovative cybersecurity solutions, a total of 32 million euros with a up to 5 million euros per grant. Again, the percentage will differ from 50 to 75%, the amount that will be covered by the European Union. Again, it is looking at supporting the market uptake and dissemination of innovative cybersecurity solutions. We're moving now to the support to the implementation of relevant EU legislation. I want you to pay attention to the fact that this will be a restricted call on the basis of Article 12 from the Digital Europe Program Regulation. I will give you a bit more details on this in a couple of slides. I will go into this into more detail. So this is the activity is named supporting the NIS directive implementation and national cybersecurity strategies. There is a total of 20 million euros. The grants will range from 1 to 5 million euros. As the name is very clearly saying it, this should support the capacity building and the enhancement of cross-border cooperation on cybersecurity at the technical, operational, and of course strategic levels. The final one, please bear with me. There is, I think, more interesting stuff to come. It's related to implementation relevant EU legislation again, but this is aimed at, the activity is aimed at testing and certification capabilities. We're looking at a smaller amount, so it's a total of 5 million euros, and this will be split into 0.5 up to 1 million euros per grant. So let's move quickly to what the application process in the Digital Europe program is. So you will have here, you will see in the right side of the screen, you will see a print screen of how the funding and tender opportunities look, meaning that what the portal looks like. And I have also highlighted the fact that you will find here in this tab both the Digital Europe program and Horizon Europe aspects. Keep in mind that you have to register to this portal, that the EU projects are managed only through this portal, both Horizon Europe and Digital Europe program. Once you have submitted the proposal, the participating organization must identify itself with a participant identification code. Even the NCC Belgium has done this. So next time you will you can log in via the login button that you see in the top corner of your screen. And of course, in order to view the projects, you will go to the Manage My Area and click there the My Organization or My Organizations button. Another relevant thing, so these are the steps that you need to know. So there will be 4 major steps in this whole process. And I've chosen to highlight this second one because it's also related to what the big ECCC framework will be providing to you. And another one of the supporting areas where the NCC Belgium and of course our other colleagues in the other member states will be supporting their stakeholders. So you need to know that there will be a support in you finding partners for your research, for your business in the other member states. For now, you have this, and I think it's a very useful tool for you to identify partners for the projects that you want to, for the calls you want to apply to. Of course, there will be following this, there will be an evaluation, and hopefully, and fingers crossed, to as many of you, the grant agreement. Just some very brief details related to the actual submission of your proposal. It has to be done before 1700 hours Brussels time on the day indicated in the call deadline. Please note that this deadline and specific time are strict and they have to be respected. You need to know that you may already presume this, but the European Commission strongly advises you to submit your proposal in good time and not to wait until the last moment for this. So, of course, you may already have understood this, that all proposals need to be submitted online. As for the evaluation part, just a few words. Once the deadline has passed, all proposals are evaluated against the criteria published in the work program. You can find that there, resulting in a list of proposals in priority order. The independent experts specialized in the relevant fields may be involved in the evaluation of this. And the final stage, in the grant agreement, when this evaluation that we mentioned at the third point, it will be over, the applicants will be informed on the outcome. The European Commission will draw up a grant agreement with each of the successful participants within the limits of the allocated budget. Of course, the grant agreement is describing the activities that have to be undertaken in line with the objectives of the call, the project's duration, the budget, rates, and costs, and so on. They will mention equally the European Commission's contribution. I mean here the co-funding part, the rights and the obligations, and other specificities linked to the topic covering the specific grant agreement. The time frame usually is up to 9 months from the closure of the call. As I was saying earlier, you have here just a very brief overview of what are the main types of actions. So you have the simple grants that may end up to co-funding of 50%. The small and medium enterprise support actions, which may cover up to 75% of the of your contribution. Yes, so the European Commission will cover 75% of this, and your part will be 25% if you qualify as an SME. Then there is the coordination and support actions, or CSA, and of course the procurement. So the simple grants, when we talk about this, we're looking at a flexible type of action for a variety of topics, of course, that can cover most of the activities. The activities with third parties, subcontracting, financial support, purchase are possible, but should be limited. Number two, the SME support actions are directly aiming at supporting the SMEs which are involved in building up and the deployment of digital capacities. I think this is very important for the Belgian landscape, because most of the companies, of the private companies that are taking part in this are small to medium enterprises. So I think this is particularly important for Belgium, for Belgium's case. It's a type of action which can also be used if an SME needs to be in the consortium and make investment to access the digital capacities. So I'll move now to the coordination and support action, the CSA number 3. It's a small type of action. The primary goal is to promote cooperation and/or provide support to EU policies. Procurement, of course, means buying goods and services or subcontracting tasks. You may already know that. When we're talking co-funding, these are the, let's say, 3 avenues. You may bring your own resources to this. I could look at the second one, which means the regional funding programs, or you may be in the situation of mixing these two. And I mean here having your own resources supported by regional funding programs. And for this, you have to keep in mind that in Belgium's case, you have to choose the relevant national contact point, or NCP, for your activity. If you're based in Wallonia, for instance, you will look at the Wallonian NCP. You will have the details brief just a couple of slides now. Okay, some of the requirements now. This is, I think, very important for you to know that consortia are an important aspect here, meaning that partners are forming this consortium. They can be from the different eligible countries, but for this, you have to keep in mind that these rules have to apply, meaning that some calls are dedicated to the EU member states only, not to the EEA countries, not to associated countries. There will be assessments of foreign control, and participants need to fill in a self-assessment questionnaire and to submit the supporting documents. In certain cases, the legal entities established in member states or in the specified eligible third countries, I have to stress this, can participate in the calls for proposals only if they are directly or indirectly controlled by member states or by nationals of member states. You have to keep in mind this, and that you have the link here to this guideline. Of course, these restrictions will apply for duly justified security reasons and where they are necessary to protect essential security and/or defense interests of the Union or its member states. You will find the details in this. I don't want to bore you and go out and read from the slides. As for the evaluation part, there will be formal requirements and there will be award criteria such as the relevance, such as the implementation, such as the impact. As I was saying earlier, all of these documents will have to be submitted in an electronic form via the funding and tenders portal, and you have this the link to the funding and tenders portal. I think it's also useful for you to know this. You have here of course, you will have to add as many details as possible. You will have to fill in the necessary documents. You have to pay attention to this, and add the requested annexes where applicable. I have here mentioned only some of them. Keep in mind that there is also a very good support part also on the funding and tender opportunities. I have also highlighted it here. You have support overview, guidance, manuals, an FAQ that may answer some of your questions. There will be detailed help files on this that may provide assistance to you. Okay. Let's have a brief look now on who is involved in this process. Let me make one thing very clear. I think Caroline touched a bit on this, but I want to stress this. We will support, and it's still not there, but it's still a work in progress. We can support the activity of the community members, for instance, by sharing EU funding opportunities with them, okay? We will do our best to identify partners when we will be requested to do this, to identify partners for your activities, for the projects that you're looking at. The goal of the ECCC framework is to provide a working relationship for you, or working opportunities, research opportunities, business opportunities, not only at the Belgian level, at the Belgian community level, but the end goal is to provide this enormous opportunity about the European cyber competence community, in order for you to find a good partner, a very good partner for your project in one of the member states, okay? But sadly, we will not be able to help you by writing the financing proposals, okay? I think you can easily guess why, because for now, we are in a very, very small number. For this activity, we have benefited from the support of our colleagues in the CCB, and I will take this opportunity to thank you guys. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I'm looking back now at the NCC Belgium. So the goal is to increase the success rate of the proposals for EU funding, and we will try to do this, and we will do our best to support you. And you will have also to pay attention to choosing the efficient option for your application, meaning to identify your strengths, and to find the best return on your investment. When I mean here, and I'm looking at your time that you will be investing in this, and the resources, of course. You will have also to favor cross-border projects, and I think this is where the work of the NCCs will be important for you. I have here added for you in the slides just a few print screens of the NCPs in Belgium, and you have here the NCPs in Brussels, the NCP in Brussels, for Flanders, in Wallonia, and of course, I really have to say this, all of our appreciation to the existing Belgian communities. I am not naming not one of them because there's a lot of them, and they're very important to us. Thank you guys for everything, and thank you for your support in organizing this event, for sharing the link for the event, and for all that you've been doing, and for all that we are planning to do together. Thank you for everything. I hope that I covered a lot of things in this. I hope this presentation will provide answers to some of your questions, at least. You will have here, as I sent it also in the chat tab, I added our email address. Feel free to ask relevant questions to the NCC activity at this email address. And I can only say that I'm looking forward. Yeah, Caroline, you have the floor.
Thank you, Christian. Actually, you have time, 1 more minute, for answering a question if you want. You can see the questions tab. So I don't know if there's
to reach the questions. Okay. I can see that some of the questions were already answered.
Maybe the question about the call for expression of interest about the multi-member state CTI sharing platform.
I cannot seem to find it. If you could help me out in reading that for me, it will be very nice of you. Please.
So it's the question of Paul van den Berg. He says, good morning. How does this relate to the ECCC call for expression of interest regarding multi-member state CTI sharing platform? That is 80% action.
I'm not familiar with this. I'll have to get back on this, or maybe if Paul can send us his question to the NCC email, I will have to dig deeper into this.
Yeah.
Paul, if you're there, please send me your question in a detailed form, because I can't seem to be finding an answer for you right now.
Yeah. What I can say for now, please do send your question to the email address so we can give you a bigger answer. But what I can say now that it is indeed a call that is coming up, but it will not be for the, well, I don't know the exact date, but it will not be launched together with the other calls. It's at this stage not yet launched. It will be probably later in September, but there is no date yet communicated by the Commission. There is still communication discussion with the governing board how to regarding the details and the how and what. So it is part of the work of the ECCC. There will be a call for expression of interest coming up. And based on that, member states will start working, will start cross-border collaboration if they will receive the go from the Commission. But please do send your email to the email address, and we can answer your question a little bit more thoroughly. With this, I think it's time to wrap up. If there are still questions that need to be answered, we will have a look. Well, I'm not sure. I think that as soon as we close this webinar, that questions will also be done. So if there are still urgent questions, please do send it to the email address and we will answer it afterwards. Regarding the downloads, yeah.
I'm sorry, there was just a brief question with a very brief answer that I wanted to address. So there was a question related to the following steps, if there will be further such sessions. I can confirm that, of course, we will have further sessions, and the following sessions will be even more focused than this one. I think we covered a lot of ground with our guest speakers today, and what Caroline and I provided as answers to you. So definitely, yes.
Good. Yes, we definitely are going to. Regarding the slides, we had some questions that people could not download it. For those who couldn't, we will send an email afterwards to send you the link so you can download it still. And it will also be made available on the website of the CCB. And for now, I think it's time to close the session, and thank you very much for your participation and all your questions that you have asked. Thank you for making it interactive. yeah, hope to see you next time soon. Have a
Thank
great
you
day.
all. Thank you all for being here. Bye.
Bye-bye.